It's your boy Jonathan Macri with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. Man, those vibes are like sunshine in Jamaica, Queens. Listen, man, if you can't laugh. Andrew wasn't seeing that one coming.
That tickled me as a Queens resident and someone who now understands what sunshine in Jamaica, Queens, how much different it is than sometimes sunshine in Jamaica, the country.
Have you ever been to Jamaica? Jamaica?
No. I've been very, very many times to Jamaica, Queens. Shout out to one of the transfer portals of the Long Island Railroad. But I've not been to Jamaica. Maybe when the Knicks are on their way to Cancun, I'll go to Jamaica. Okay.
we just beat them in Cancun. That's fine. Anyway, so we got a fun episode here today with Mark Campbell. Mark reached out to me, and we were just talking about this series before it got started. And we were just going back and forth. I didn't have time to get into this on the pod with him. I should also say Mark Campbell from Low Man Help. Everybody should go subscribe to his Substack, and he's got great stuff on there. He had D'Antoni on. He has Danny Green, a regular guest, and he does a great bunch of articles. When we were texting, he's like, "Man, you got nothing to worry about with this series. The series is gonna be easy peasy. This is Knicks in 5. The real work starts next series." And I'm like, I don't know, man. I know you're a lot smarter than me, but something about this one doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
And now here we are. So yeah, where are we? Where are we at, Andrew?
I'm having less fun than I did at the end of game one. I'll tell you that much. I think a lot of confirmation about worries about this team and less worries about the Pistons were realized throughout the majority of game two. Look, as many a coach and many a media person has once said, if you pick the team to win in 5 games, that means they have to lose once. The Knicks have lost once. That doesn't change that all of the concerns I had during the regular season that then informed a Knicks in 7 prediction going into this series weren't fully realized and on full display in game 2. And we'll see. I said in that convo we had right before the season ended after the Cavs game that I would judge THIBS on the playoffs. I think there was one phenomenal game in game 1, especially how they guarded Cade. And then all the things that have frustrated me all season. And I don't want to make this a THIBS convo because it's really a Jalen Brunson convo to me. But all of the things that have frustrated me about this team showed up in game 2. It's
an everything convo. It's a Brunson convo. It's a Cat convo.
Yep.
I have a fairly scathing newsletter. I haven't lit up the old what's that thing that Kevin McAllister puts on the doorknob to heat it up? And
it's like iron, like I don't know what it's specifically called, but
you know what I'm talking about.
Anybody that's seen Home Alone knows it's like a noose, but it lights on fire and it wraps around the doorknob, and then Joe Pesci touches it and he burns his hand.
Yes, and he gets the M seared on his hand. That's what I need, a doorknob with an M on it. Yeah, I haven't broke one of those out in a while. I did for what's going to be Wednesday's newsletter, and it is about Mikal Bridges, which is funny because I said after game 2, I'm like, Bridges is going to catch a lot of shit for this game, but I actually don't know if that's where the attention should go, and sure enough, I ended up writing about him. So yeah, it's a Bridges thing, it's a Josh Hart thing, and needless to say, it's a THIBS thing. I'm don't get me wrong, I'm frustrated by game 2. I'm frustrated by a lot of the things that we saw. I'm frustrated by the fact, and I know we're, literally in the midst of a, Fred is texting us as we're recording this, a conversation about, we could see a lot of these things coming. These are season-long issues. These are not issues that have propped up this week or even this month or even like this year. And if you go by the calendar year, because as Benji has been reminding us, he's like, man, we saw this shit in preseason. So like all of that is frustrating, but I also tend to sympathize, or not really sympathize, the wrong word. I tend to like. Have you caught any of Steve Jones's tweets today? He's been engaging with Knicks fans a lot.
I've seen it. I've seen him trying to fight the good fight.
Yeah, but it's like, it's not in a logical fight he's trying to fight. It's like, look, and you go into a series, and both coaches' only job is to make sure that whatever the other coach is trying to do doesn't work, and to make sure what you are trying to do does work. And I think he's made some really good points, and more generally just kind of exploring the concept of like, yeah, there's always counters that you could say, all right, we didn't try this, why, and that might have worked. And then there's always reasons for why, to explain that stuff away. So I tend to see both sides of this.
Doesn't shock me that the other media person, whether well-known media person that likes to defend coaches, is someone that you pointed to that
he's a lot smarter than me.
I think you're both pretty smart, and you both have found a niche, and I don't even think you're both necessarily wrong. It's why I try to go into these conversations with as much humility as possible, recognizing that Steve Jones has worked for NBA teams and probably knows what goes into these decisions more than I do. Where I respectfully push back on Mr. Jones is that I know the Knicks better than you do this season. And what we've seen since January, since December, and as Benji pointed out, if you don't want to say the preseason mattered, we were on playback when the Rockets put Dylan Brooks on Karl-Anthony Towns. And it was the first regular season understanding that this is how teams are going to guard it. And nothing's changed. Josh Hart's still playing 40 plus minutes. The spacing is still non-existent. You want to talk about a Steve Jones tweet? He referenced a moment in last night's game where the spacing looked incredible. Guess what? We haven't seen that all season, Steve. So respectfully, of course, I have to just push back on this notion that like it's not a coaching thing. Now, like, players have agency, and I am fascinated to see how Jalen Brunson plays in game 3, because as much as we want to argue on Twitter today about whether the coach it's a malpractice issue or not, Jalen Brunson played one of the more annoying games that I've watched him play over the years. And I'm also curious to read your Mikal Bridges newsletter, because I've mentioned last night, like, I feel bad because I thought he played well, and then he missed 4 shots in the last 427 that were good looks. Like 3 of the shots he took were really good looks. It's like you said, it's a collective thing. It's a schematic thing from the entire season that falls on the coach, as well as how much he's empowered Brunson. It's Bridges missing those 4 shots and it being 4 more shots than Cat took in the entire second half.
Yep.
It's Cat maybe not being
quarter, but yeah.
No. He took 3 shots in the second half, John. He took 0 in the fourth quarter.
You said it's 4 more shots than Cat took in the entire second
meant
half.
It's more shots.
It's more shots than he took. Yes.
He took 4 shots in the final 427. Yeah. Cat took 3 shots in the final 24 minutes of the game. So it's a collective thing. It was all the things that have annoyed me all season, and bothered a lot of Knicks fans all season. Yeah, coming to light.
Yeah, and I get all that. I totally get all of it. I get the concept of 5 out as something that it is not a button that has been pushed nearly as much as logic would dictate, all things being equal, that it should be pushed. And then when you look at the Josh Hart minutes of it all, again, these are conversations we've been having throughout the season. I still think that the Hart part of this makes it a more complex conversation than it is often made out to be. And I
have to acknowledge it. Apparently Madison thinks so too. I'm sorry to bring it up, but everybody could hear the dog. But this is where hopefully I got most of it out in post-production.
I will try to.
Is your door open?
Yes, it is, but I don't.
That's why. Yeah. You're good. Anyway. We can wrap up soon. Shout out to Madison. I hope that they go 5 out the way you want them to. Madison is John's dog, by the way. You hear in the background. The adorable dog named after Madison Square Garden that's made appearances on this podcast.
Yes, and the dog is very adorable. Anyway, look, Hart remains a vitally important player for the team. And I think they are caught in this no man's land of knowing his value. The coach is caught in this no man's land of knowing his value and wanting to make sure that he gets his best players out on the floor. And then this other part of him that I'm sure understands that it creates these challenges. So look, it's very obvious what needs to happen as far as Towns goes to fully take care of and exploit what you are being presented by a Detroit defense that, frankly, you didn't bend at all on Monday night. So it's not an overstatement to say that Thursday is like 84 games are leading up to Thursday night, you know, and like your sentiment of I will judge the coach in the postseason. Like he had, like you said, we had a great game one.
Loved
game
it.
Two, it was not good. Like whatever was being tried, it didn't work or it didn't work well enough. So now it's your turn, Tibbs. Like your chance to fire back. And if he does, great. And if he doesn't, I mean, the writing's on the wall.
Do you think we see any major adjustment? And we'll wrap here. Do you think we'll see any major adjustment?
So
Starting
by major adjustment,
change.
you mean like Josh Hart playing 25 minutes?
Starting lineup change, Josh Hart. So here's the thing. I think it's the opposite. I think he plays just 7 guys. Like, and then just like Mitch plays 25, Deuce plays 25, like maybe campaigns just kind of out of the rotation. Like that's an option. I just, if it's the exact same game plan and Hart plays 40 minutes and, you know, we rarely see the double bigs, and if they go 9 deep and based on how Shamet and Payne play in the first half will dictate how they play, how often they play in the second half, then it's a definition of insanity.
I think the definition of insanity for game 3 would entail letting the Pistons get away with putting Harris on Cat and not making them pay some sort of penalty somewhere. Now, if they go to that matchup and the Knicks find some other way to exploit the defense that we are not currently talking about, maybe it involves getting Josh Hart, you know, in a ton more ball screens, you know, maybe it is a double big lineup and, you know, you're trying to get Mitch more involved as a lob threat or an offensive rebounder. Like there's no shortage of things that they could go to. Maybe it is Josh Hart only playing 25 minutes. Whatever it is, there has to be something where you are making Detroit reconsider what they are doing. And if we end the game on Thursday, dare I say win or lose, and it does not appear that you have made Detroit sweat based on some sort of adjustments that you've made, then that's not okay. It's just not okay. And for all the complaining and the bitching and the moaning, that drives me up a wall, because it's like there's always so much more going on than people are able to see, than we and everybody, Steve Jones included, than any of us are able to see and understand and comprehend. That stuff is all going to fly out the window, because what matters isn't what we can't see or comprehend or know. It's what is happening in the 48 minutes on the court. And it's it's crazy to say this, but it does feel like the season comes down to Thursday night in a lot of ways. I know it's not a winner or go home game. I know it's not even a must win game, but based on where the tenor of the conversation is at right now, it's hard not to look at it in that way.
I agree. And I'll just extend it. I'll co-sign and extend it to like, it's more than just Thursday. It's this trip to Detroit. Like, because I can understand the raucous home crowd, their first home game that they think they can win since 2008. Like coming off their first playoff win since 2008. It's this whole trip to Detroit.
If it's a 3-point loss on Thursday and they shoot and they get great looks and they shoot 20% from deep and the Pistons shoot 50% from deep and they lose by 3, that's a different story. We'll know it if and when we see it.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's really all there is to it. Okay. Glad we had this conversation. Look, Knicks fans, just keep the faith. like, please. I know it seems like the sky is falling and things can never be worse. But there was such a thing as when the chips are down, like the concept of like showing some fortitude as opposed to wanting to get everybody out of a job. It wouldn't be the worst thing to have a little bit of that right now. And now that I've said that is what I would like to see, I'm going to go try to find the magic lamp with a genie because the likelihood of those two things are equal.
If you want the perspective, John, before you jumped on with me, I was watching our friend, shout out to the PHNX Suns podcast that I've had on for a pregame pod, and they're currently going through Kevin Durant trade options, and Mikal Bridges is on their graphic. So
great.
Like, could be worse how we're spending this playoff run right now. I'd rather be breaking down a playoff game upcoming than how do we trade our guy that probably isn't the guy that should be traded off our team.
Probably not. Okay.
Yeah.